Chiswick Aguero, founder of Motivos Bilingual Magazine. This is Motivos. Motivos amplifies youth voice while connecting them with resources and role models to really access scholarships, college and career opportunities, and mentors to guide them toward the future that they see themselves in, toward their full potential. And we do that through a media mentorship program where students are in the decision-making room, writing the stories, doing the interviews, the illustrations, the photography, and also through our youth empowerment program. So perfect for the EL Spanish classroom, out of school time programs, summer camps, etc. We really have a literacy infused STEAM-based programming that we love to get out there and engage the students with finding their voice, letting their stories be told, shaping the social narrative of who they are and how they see the world around them. So today we are going to be hosting on our Wednesday Team Talk two different guests, and the theme is Latinas in Tech. So we will be hosting Sandra Mosquera. She is a Vice President of Digital Product Management at JP Morgan Chase. She is a graduate of Community College of Philadelphia and Villanova University and a native of Colombia. And following our conversation with Sandra, we will be hosting participants of Latinitas Code Chica program, which is based near Austin, Texas. We have participants on the call with us tonight as far away as Puerto Rico, and we have another team member from Washington State who will be joining shortly. So kind of, a spider web of connections here, and we hope that those watching online will really get something out of this, and those that are here in the Zoom room with us will have a chance to ask your questions. So I'm going to hand it off now to Elliot, and I'm going to spotlight Sandra, and so that you guys will all have the chance to hear from Sandra about her own journey of self-discovery and all the twists and turns it took to get to where she is. And then Elliot will kind of lead us in the questions. So Sandra, so glad to have you here. Elliot, take it away.
Hello, Sandra. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
So I wanted to ask some questions about your career so far, and I wanted to start sort of at the beginning. So you were started your first time in college. You were studying to be a paralegal, right?
Yes.
What made you want to switch to information systems?
So when I first came to the country in Colombia, I started studying law, and ever since I remember, I was supposed to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer. So when I moved to the US, then I went into the paralegal degree, but I didn't realize that law in the US was a postgraduate degree. So, and it's not only a postgraduate degree, but if you want to go to a really good law school, they require that you're full-time. And me being an immigrant and having to work full-time and go to school full-time, I just couldn't see myself dropping everything. I didn't have the money for it either, and going to law school. And I was in that moment, I was an international student, so I couldn't even get, financial aid or none of that. Once I first got my green card, I was working in Radnor, which is near Villanova. And so when I was looking for schools, I was looking for a program that would accommodate my schedule as an adult. They have a really good College of Professional Studies that is for people like me that is not fresh out of college, but that has a career and then need to go to school after work. And so when I looked at all of the programs, they had information system. My best friend in Colombia, she is an information system major, and my dad is an engineer. So I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. So I switched from paralegal to information system. It was a combination of, this is something that I know people that do it, and it is convenient for me because it was like 2 blocks from my work, so I could really get off work and go to school and then come home. So that's how my decision went.
And I'm sure that that your friend and your father have both been like a very informative in how information systems work.
Well, my friend did, even though she's not an engineer, I knew what the field was about. My dad was like, how would you go from social science to engineering like that? And I had to suffer for it, but it was a good transition. I'm really glad I did it.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
So your position at JP Morgan was a certified Scrum Master, right? So what exactly do certified Scrum Masters do, and what is that position like?
Well, I was when I was going through my master's degree, I was a certified Scrum Master. Now I'm VP of product. So those are two different positions that I held at JP Morgan Chase.
Ah,
Yeah, so the engineering work is very vast, and I always tell people it's kind of, when you think about software engineering, think about building a house. You have people that build the house, you have people that design the house, you have people that sell the house, right? So when I was a Scrum Master, I was kind of like a project manager. It's
mhm,
not exactly like a project manager, but the Scrum Master take care of making sure that the teams deliver on what they committed. Meaning that, let's say that we're talking about the house, and you told your client, I'm going to build these 2 stories in 3 months. The Scrum Master is the person that makes sure that everything is there for those people to deliver in those 3 months.
mhm,
When you are the product manager, which is what I am right now, I own the project. So I am kind of like the representative of the owners of the house. I tell the team, you know what, these new buildings that we're going to have, I think the customers will like it to be 3 stories. And I think they will like it to be blue. And I think they will like it to be this big. But I
mhm,
also have to listen the architects that will tell me, to get a 3 stories, you will have to have this type of foundation. We will have to have this type of material. You can build with iron rather than wood, because, so I have to kind of listen to everybody and make the decisions before the team start building. So I will have to consider, well, if I use a different type of material, would it take longer? Would it cost more? Right?
mhm,
And I have to create the priorities. So as a product manager, I have more responsibilities, and I'm more involved earlier in the process.
mhm.
And because I was an engineer first, I'm also a technical product manager, which means I take care of more technical aspects of it, meaning I have to make sure that the security for cybersecurity is always taken into account. I have to make sure that we have monitoring system and we have alert systems, and everything that have to do with the actual technical aspect of the project, I take care of too.
Ah, okay. Hmm. So the Scrum Master essentially answers to you now. They tell you like sort of like what's going on, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, in a way. So in technology, we try to have like a flat leadership type of management. That means
Mhm,
I don't really manage people. I don't approve vacations. I don't. What I manage is the actual product. I said this.
mhm,
This is what I need by when I need it. And the Scrum Master also don't manage the people. They manage the scope, and they make sure that the engineers have everything they need to do what they need to do. I think there is a famous quote by Steve Jobs that said, "You have to let the engineers do what they do. They're smart people." So in engineering, we let the engineers to tell us, "Hey, this is how long it's going to take me. This is what we can do it." I don't tell them how. I don't tell what system. I just say, "Hey, I want this building to fly," and the engineer will tell me, "Well, you cannot do that," or they can tell me, "You can do it, but it will take 3 years or 100 years." And then I decide, okay, we can do it. I can wait 100 years or no. You know what?
mhm.
Maybe just wheels will be sufficient. So it's that type of thing. It's a very um, democratic type of system. If I will say, if you want your delivery and your project to work well, but that's for a large scale company like us. There are other type of engineers that work in a more, traditional structure companies.
Mhm.
But at JP, it's not so much. I'm the boss, which I by title am, but I'm not really the boss of anybody. I just manage the product, if that makes sense.
I understand it. So it's like you're all tables of equals working to make sure everyone
Exactly.
is doing the right work and has the right work.
Exactly. Everybody is very smart. So I listen to the engineers and the architects and everybody. What I have to do is kind of prioritize everything that everybody tells me. I get a lot of information from everywhere. So, that's my job to say, okay, you know what, the engineers are right this time. We cannot fly just yet, and those type of things.
Mhm. So when you first started working for JP Morgan, you mentioned on your website that they offered you 4 positions total, which is incredible. But you chose Scrum Master out of all of them. So why did you do that? And out of the 3 other positions, why did you not like them?
Yeah, so what happened is that, as I said, the engineering field is so vast that often when you apply for a position, you don't really know what it entails. That's one of the things. The other thing is that you're gonna have to figure out, or as you go through it, you start learning what you like better, right? I was an engineer mostly by accident, by luck, by fate, but I had already been in law school. I had already had some businesses, and I was already studying for my MBA. So I knew that with the experience that I have as an engineer and the background I have in businesses and other experiences that I have, I was probably better suited for the communication between the engineers and the business, because as I said, it's like a building and everybody has different things that they have to do. A person like me that can speak engineering and business always make like a good bridge, because business people and engineer people normally don't understand each other. So early on in my career, I knew that that would be a good place for me to be. So when I joined JP, they invited me to a recruiting event for minorities. So before the pandemic, every 6 months, they had this event where they invite minority technologies, they call it, meaning engineers, QA, everybody that is in the technology field, to a big networking event. The difference about this networking event is that you get interviews on the spot, which I didn't know. So a couple of days before the event, they sent you these invites for interview and they're on the spot. So I ended up interviewing with like 17, no, it was like 16 that day. And I was like, by the last interview, I was like, I'm so sorry, I cannot answer any more questions, especially Java engineering questions. And then one of the, everybody offered their position, and I was lucky to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna go with this or that. My boss, the one that I chose, is because she's now my boss again. It's an amazing leader. She is such a visionary. She puts everything was very clear, and I wasn't a scrum master, but because of my background, she said, I think you can be a really good scrum master. And I just fell in love with her passion and her vision. So I accepted her offer, then got my certificate before I started working, and that's how I became the scrum master.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like with your experiences, you definitely were a natural fit for the position. Yeah.
That's what she said. And we worked really well. Actually, I went back to the company because she called me and said, I have another position that fits your experience. And that's how I ended up being the VP for product management that I am right now.
So as like in a time as like Scrum Master and Project Manager, would you say what did you have learned at your time here at JP Morgan that you could take with you throughout the rest of your career?
Well, the best thing I think that I learned is how to say no. I think as a minority and as a female, we normally are a little afraid that to say no, especially to higher, ranking people. So my job as a Scrum Master was literally to protect the engineering team so they could deliver, and that meant saying no to a lot of people a lot of time. That was one of the first things that I learned. And that serves me really well now that I'm a VP, because, with so many competing priorities, having the ability to explain, and it's not just no and that's it. It's no because of this, no because this is where we are, not because these are our priorities, no because we are already committed to this. So I think that was one of my favorite learning from Scrum Master, and now I'm using it as a product manager.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell you one more thing, and sorry to interrupt you. The other thing that I learned early when I was an engineer is that everybody feels like they don't know what they're doing. And I didn't know that until I read about imposter syndrome and being a female and a minority. And it's a reality. And that just makes your life so much easier because you go through your career thinking, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And then you realize everybody feel like it. And it's not true. You do know what you're doing. That's why you got the job and that's what you continue to do it. But at least knowing that everybody or a lot of people feel the same way also helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So, what do you plan on doing in the future? Do you plan on staying a product manager, or do you plan on like changing it as well to like another position?
Well, JP is such a big company, and there are so many opportunities. I am uniquely positioned in the space that I am, which is one of the fast growing spaces in engineering. So the sky pretty much is the limit where I am. But I don't know. I just joined the team like 7 months ago, and there is so much that we have to deliver. So for now, I plan to deliver in everything that I have to deliver and making my team better and my product better. And hopefully the recognition and the next leadership position will come with it, which at JP is kind of like a guarantee. They're a really good place to work, and they really recognize when you're doing your job, and there is so much space for growing. So I love working at JP because I think there is so much more for me to do.
That's great to hear. I'm glad that you have so many opportunities ahead of you.
Yeah. I am a lucky person.
Yeah. Speaking of opportunities, do you have any advice for teenagers interested in like technology, programming, maybe like code engineering, or being a scrum master or a project manager, something like that?
Yeah, I have a million, but I tell you, the one thing that I tell everybody that is looking for a new career is think about coding not as a math, because I find that especially for female and minorities, when we have a background of education that is not as strong as some other people, we kind of afraid that engineering is like a math thing. It's not. Engineering, not, let me take that back, not engineering, but software development, because there are different types of engineering. Software development, it should be thought of learning a new language or new languages. If you are good at languages, if you are bilingual, if your parents speak a language and you speak another language, you probably are very well positioned to become a software developer because you understand syntax, you understand translating, you understand, and that's what really as software developers that they develop a system in a computer language or in a engineering language, call it Java, Python, whatever. So I always invite people to look at the engineering or software development field more as a language learning experience that is a math kill. That's my main one. The second one is don't be afraid of not knowing. Engineering is not the easiest of fields, but it's a very rewarding field, and it's okay to not know, right? It's okay to be confused. It's okay to not get it at first. It's not like, I don't know, I always see the TV and the laws. It's like they tell you, Your Honor, this law says this and this. Law is so in everything that when you go for a legal or social scientist type of thing, you kind of get it. Engineering is a little bit more obscure, but don't be afraid of it. It's not as difficult. If I can do it, I tell you, anybody can do it. And the third thing that I tell people all the time is apply to everything, right? There are so many resources out there. It doesn't have to be through college. It doesn't have to be even in a structured programs. I have worked with engineers that are self-taught. I work with engineers that did boot camp. I work with engineers that have PhDs. I work with, so engineering is such a big field that there is so many ways to get there. You can look at your position, at your background, and really figure out the way to get there in your uniquely way. So that's what I think is beautiful about this field.
Thank you. That's insightful. I think that's all questions I have for you, but if anyone else has a question for you, I'm going to step aside to let them ask it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Faiza, did you have any questions? I know you were doing some research as well, or Michaela, Bridget. Feel free to be brave and ask your questions. You can write it in the chat or you can go off mute.
Oh, I
Either
see
way is
some.
fine.
I see some stuff in the chat. Yeah, yes. Knowing another language is definitely a transferable skill. Being good at languages will help you in software engineering for sure.
What are some of your personality traits that you feel have helped you kind of navigate the adulting world, right? The career world, if you will.
I think being able to talk to people from different cultures is very good. Engineering, we have people from all over the world. Most companies, big companies like JP Morgan's, we have teams in India, we have teams in Asia. I work with people from Europe, East Europe, and having that cultural kind of like awareness have helped me a lot. I always tell people I used to work with this guy. He was really hard. He was really hard. Russian guy, and he was really hard. He will say no to everything. And I gave him a mug. What's the name of that show that everybody used to love from HBO? The Dragon Show. I can never remember. I'm so bad about because I think everybody loves that show. But I gave him a dragon from that show, and this guy, no matter what I said at what time, he will say yes. That simple thing, that subtle, understanding what makes people, helped me with him, which was a big part of my work when I was a Scrum Master. So I think that have helped me a lot. I'm also very calm. I don't fight a lot. I don't take anything personal, even in my personal life. And that's good. Because when you have people asking you so many things, and engineering is a field that you kind of feel like you fail a lot because you have to test things, and then your build doesn't run, or you have a bug, or you cannot make it, or then you do something right and something else breaks. So it is always a constant, oh my God, we didn't do it right type of feeling. Not taking it personal have helped me. Once I'm done with work, I'm happy and I can go eat my empanadas and and enjoy my life, and then take it up the next day and not make it, I don't feel like it's just piling on me.
And I just learned yesterday I'm in the Migrant Ed conference, virtual conference, and they mentioned 3 types of learners. They had the achiever who didn't want to make a mistake, right? And they want to get to the end and they want to get there and they want to go, go, go. And the explorer who learns through making mistakes and then iterating and then changing up. And then the socializer who wants to kind of externally process, learn from others before they decide what they're going to do and kind of feel things around. And so it sounds like explorer might be your learning style. And so if students out there are explorers, right, we can all practice being explorers. We can practice putting ourselves out there, making mistakes, falling, learning from them, trying again. So the more opportunities that we have in life to fail and learn from our failures, right,
Yeah.
the better the explorer side of our personality we can develop. And that's something to remember, right? Failing is not failing. Failing is learning, as long as you do something differently the next time.
Exactly.
We have some questions in the chat. If you guys want to go off mic, Bridget, you asked one first, and then Faiza and Selena.
Hi.
Hi.
I asked, what would you say strengthened your resolve after a hard moment in your career?
I think knowing that a lot of people felt, I was telling you that sometimes you feel like, a lot of times you feel like you don't know what you're doing. I was listening into a conversation, a cube next to me, and he was a senior engineer, and he was telling another senior engineer how he felt like an imposter and how he felt that he didn't know what he was doing. And then that's the first time I learned about imposter syndrome. And I think that helped me a lot when there is so much in your mind and there is so much to do, we all go with the anxiety of, we have to get this right and make sure that, people understand that we're doing our best. That took a big, heavy load out of my shoulder, knowing that people feel the same way. And I try to tell anybody and everybody, especially in the engineering field, we all feel like we don't know what we're doing, and just keep going. So I think that was one of the first very reassuring moment in the engineering field.
Faiza, did you want to ask your question?
I think I can read from
Yeah.
here. Oh, go for it.
My question is that if you could go back in time to your younger self when you were picking the career path that you're currently doing, what advice would you give to your younger self?
When I was I always tell people, I always been very flexible, and I find that nowadays people think that your career it has to be your passion, or people kind of set one goal, which is a good thing, but being flexible enough to evaluate your opportunities and then reassess your goal is a good thing. So I think when I was going into engineering, I wasn't very sure about it, because that's not what I wanted to be, right? So I was like, are you sure you want to do this? You're not really good at this. So I think I would tell myself, be a little bit more sure about being flexible. It's okay to have one goal and change that. As long as you have a goal, I think you'll be fine. And then, I don't know, when you're about to be like 30 or 40 or whatever, we start thinking about all the things that we supposed to have accomplished then. So I think telling people that it's okay to not be where you think that you should be is also something that I will offer myself.
And Selena, did you want to ask the last question?
Yes, my question was, what is the greatest challenge you experienced while getting to your current position?
I was in a very good position at Comcast. I loved the building. I wanted to be close to my house because I live in Philly and my commute was like 15 minutes. Now it's an hour. But in that moment, I really was looking for a position that I could work from home, so I could work from Colombia. The pandemic was a very big moment, I think, for all of us. When the airports were closed and I wasn't able to go to Colombia, I think that kind of marked me. I was thinking about all the people that I might not see after the whole thing was done. So the moment they opened the airports, I went home and I stayed there as long as I could. And while I was there, I was like, I'm staying. I'm in the engineering field. There are a millions work from home positions out there. And that is the first time I started looking for a different position with the goal that I will get something to work from home. It was crazy that one night I looked into JPL, oh, let me see what is there. And I applied for it, and the hiring manager turned out to be my manager. I said, well, if I'm going to stay in the US, it have to be a vice president position. If no, it's not even worth it. But I didn't think by a million shot that I would get it. I was like, I'm just going to apply for this, because if I'm going to stay there, it has to be something that big for me that it will be worthwhile. And when I got it, I was really happy because it's a great opportunity. I am an immigrant. I am, I've been in this country only 10 years. English is my second language. And being able to say that you are, an executive of 500 company is like, wow, crazy. But I wanted to be home. I really wanted to be with my mom. I wanted, kind of spend all of this time if anything happened to them. So it was a big decision to me. I'm happy I did it. I'm happy that, things died down and everybody is okay. Luckily, my family, we didn't lose anybody. But at that moment, my mind and my heart was really staying home and kind of recovering all of those 14 years that I haven't been with everybody. So that was challenging.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I'm going to share, let me see, I'm going to share your website so that people can find you, get in touch with you. Let's see, here's Sandra's website.
And it's in English and in Spanish.
It's just sandramosquera.com. So you guys can see a little bit more about her journey and get in touch with her at the bottom here. Contact at sandramosquera.com. So if you have further questions, we encourage you to reach out, keep the lines of communication open.